And the second compilation of the day is from Ystrad Mynach and Rhymney, and we start off with Ystrad Mynach. And kicking us off will be 231011, working the 0725 Transport for Wales service from Barry Island through to Hengoed. Arriving next into the station is 231006, working the 0736 Transport for Wales service from Rhymney through to Barry Island. Next arriving into the station is 231001, working the 0744 Transport for Wales service from Cardiff Central through to Rhymney. Next train out to depart is 231011, working the 0754 Transport for Wales service from Hengoed through to Barry Island. Arriving next into the station is 231010, working the 0755 Transport for Wales service from Barry Island through to Hengoed. Arriving next into the station is 150245, working the 0805 Transport for Wales service from Rhymney through to Bridgend. Next arriving into the station is 150264, working the 0813 Transport for Wales service from Bridgend through to Rhymney. Next arriving into the station is 231010, working the 0825 Transport for Wales, 0824 Transport for Wales service from Hengoed through to Barry Island. And to take us to our next station, here comes 150259, working the 0825 Transport for Wales service from Barry Island through to Hengoed. And up next on this compilation video is Hengoed, and kicking us off will be 150259, working the 0827 Transport for Wales service from Barry Island through to Hengoed. Arriving next into the station is 231001, working the 0833 Transport for Wales service from Rhymney through to Barry Island. Arriving next into the station is 231009, working the 0846 Transport for Wales service from Barry Island through to Rhymney. Next out to parties 150-259, working the 0851 Transport for Wales service from Hengoed through to Barry Island. Arriving next into the station is 150-208, working the 0857 Transport for Wales service from Barry Island through to Hengoed. And another sprinter, my sprinters are popular, it's 150-264, working the 0859 Transport, no wait, 0902 Transport for Wales service from Rhymney through to Bridgend. And the sprinter hits just keep on coming with 150-284, working the 0916 Transport for Wales service from Bridgend through to Rhymney. Next arriving into the station is 150-208, working the 0921 Transport for Wales service from Hengoed through to Barry Island. And to take us to our next station, here comes 231002, working the 0927 Transport for Wales service from Barry Island through to Hengoed.
This service is operated by Transport for Wales.
And up next on the compilation is Pengam. And kicking us off will be 231002, working the 0931 Transport for Wales service from Barry Island through to Hengoed. Next out to parties 231009, working the 0929 Transport for Wales service from Rhymney through to Barry Island. Next out 2 to part is 231002, working the 0947 Transport for Well service and Hengoed through to Barry Island. Arriving next into the station is 231004, working the 0950 Transport for Well service and Barry Island through to Rhymney. Superior traction has been identified in the form of 150284, working the 0958 Transport for Well service and Rhymney through to Bridgend. Just listen to those V8 roar for 231006's departure, working the 1001 Transport for Well service from Barry Island through to Hengoed. Next out to depart, let's listen to those V8s roar again for 231006, working the 1017 Transport for Well service and Hengoed through to Barry Island. Arriving next into the station is 150251, working the 1020 Transport for Well service and Bridgend through to Rhymney. Arriving next into the station is 231004, working the 1029 Transport for Well service and Rhymney through to Barry Island. And to take us to our next station, here comes 231011, working the 1031 Transport for Well service and Barry Island through to Hengoed. And up next on this compilation will be Birthdir, and kicking us off will be 150264, working the 1229 Transport for Well service and Bridgend through to Rhymney. Flying through the station is 150-264, working 2 Echo 32 for Transport for Wales on Rhymney through to Bridgend. Next flying through the station for Transport for Wales is 231006, working the 2 Romeo 22 from Barry Island through to Rhymney. Arriving next into the station is 231006, working the 1320 Transport for Wales service from Rhymney through to Barry Island. And to take us to our next station, here comes 150-284, working the 1329 Transport for Wales service from Bridgend through to Rhymney. And next up on the compilation will be Tir-Phil. And kicking us off will be 150-284, over the 1332 Transport for Wales service at Bridgend through to Rhymney. Next to pass through the station fast is 150-264, working 2 Echo 36 from Rhymney through to Bridgend. Next flying through the station for Transport for Wales is 231001, working 2 Romeo 26 from Barry Island through to Rhymney. Arriving next into the station is 231001, working the 1418 Transport for Wales service from Rhymney through to Barry Island. And to take us on to our next station, here comes 150-251, working the 1432 Transport for Wales service at Bridgend to Rhymney. And the final station of the compilation is Pontlottyn. And kicking us off will be 150-251, working the 1437 Transport for Wales service at Bridgend to Rhymney. Passing fast through the station is 150-251, working 2 Echo 40 from Rhymney through to Bridgend. Also passing fast through the station is 231009, working 2 Romeo 30 from Barry Island through to Rhymney. Next out to depart is 231009, working the 1513 Transport for Well service from Rhymney through to Barry Island. And to finish off the compilation and to take us home, here comes 150-245, working the 1537 Transport for Well service and Bridgend through to Rhymney. Perfecto. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed what you saw, click on the 2 videos here at the end screen. Helps out the channel. Also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you are new and got this far. And we'll see you all in the next video, folks, wherever that may take us. We'll see you then, folks.